Okay, here we go. So, example 1. Let's do example 1 first. So, let me rewrite it. It really is 1/5 plus 3/5, right? And so we know how to do this. We learned this way back in 6th grade. They already have a common denominator of 5. So we're just going to take the 5, and we're going to go the 1 plus the 3. And of course, we do that in our head, right? We do that in the head. But I want to show how it would work. So it's the common denominator is 5. I write down the 5. And I got the 1 plus 3. So the answer is just going to be 4/5, right? That's it. Okay? Now, let's take a look at example 4. Example 4 is really the same type of problem, except for it has x's in it, okay? It has a common denominator. And the common denominator really is the x plus 3. But I only write it down once, right? That is the denominator, x plus 3. I don't write it down. I would never write 10 here. That'd be silly. We write the common denominator, which is the x plus 3. And then I'm just going to add. So I'm going to take my 3x plus my 2x is a 5x. I'm going to go my negative 4 plus 5, and I get a 1. That's my answer. Same process, it's just with variables. We had a common denominator. I added the x's, grace, 2x plus 3x is 5x. Negative 4 plus 5 is 1. Okay. Let's look at example 2. So example 2 is subtract. So the problem with example 2 is that we don't have a common denominator. So 7/12 minus 1/4. Okay. So when I take a look at these two and I want to subtract them, I need a common denominator. Okay, now one way to do it, and if you ever get stuck with common denominators, you can always do this. Multiply the 12 by the 4 and multiply the 4 by the 12. That will always work. But that would make 48. That would make 48 as your denominator, which will work, except you'd have a problem that you'd have to reduce at the end. It will work. But an easier way to say, wait a minute, I think there's a better common denominator, right? 12. You guys agree? So to make it 12, I multiply this by my 3 over my 3, right? Which makes my common denominator of 12. Then I'd have a 7 minus 3, which is 4/12. Okay, 4/12 and 4/12 would reduce to 1/3. Okay, now that's 6th grade math. We're going to have to take this a step further with what we're going to do, okay? Now example 5, okay, example 5 is subtract, right? First of all, do they have a common denominator?
Yeah.
So let's write it down. We have a x squared minus 4x, right? So let's go ahead and subtract. Now, if we're going to subtract, we got to be careful with the negative. Okay. In fact, I'm going to highlight here the negative. Be careful with the negative. 2x subtract 4x is a negative 2x. Okay. Negative 1 minus a minus. We're going to have minus a minus 5, which is really like a negative 1 plus 5, right? Minus a minus, which makes a plus 4. Sometimes we're going to be able to factor, and after we factor, sometimes we're going to be able to cancel. Not this one. If we were to factor the top or the bottom, nothing's going to cancel. Okay, now if nothing cancels, we're done. Okay. We can skip example 3. You guys know how to do example 3. Let's move to example 6. Now, example 6 is a little bit different. Okay, let's make ourselves a little note over here, a little side note. First step we always do, if we can, is we factor the denominator. Always. So if we can factor the denominator, then it's going to make it a little bit easier to find my common denominator. So let me rewrite this. I'm going to have an x minus 1 over an x plus 1 and an x plus 2. All right? Okay, so I just factored my trinomial, x plus 1, x plus 2, okay? Plus x over my x plus 1, okay? Okay, here's a big important key. I'm going to do this again. What does this term, what does the first term have, the second doesn't? Think denominator. What does it doesn't have an x plus 2. Totally right. It needs an x plus 2. For them to be the same, it needs an x plus 2, right? So we're going to give it an x plus 2, but we have to do it top and bottom. X plus 2 over x plus 2. Okay, now, when I look at both fractions, they have a common denominator. The common denominator really is the x plus 1, x plus 2. So when I write that down, I'll write my x plus 1, x plus 2, okay? That's my denominator. And just like when I add fractions, I just write it down once, right? That's my denominator. Now, let's simplify my numerator. So I have an x minus 1 plus, I'll have a x squared plus a 2x. Okay, now that's kind of a mess. It's kind of sloppy. I can probably tidy that up a little bit, right? That's a plus sign, bad looking plus sign. So if I tidy up the numerator, I'd have an x squared plus a 3x minus a 1 over my x plus 1, x plus 2, okay? Now, Arthur said factor, and I really like that. If I can factor, and if something would cancel, it'd be awesome. Nothing will. But possibly in example 7, we're going to use what you just said, okay? So if nothing factors and nothing cancels, you're done. That's my answer, okay? Now, example 7, we might be able to factor when we're done. Well, let's check it out, okay? Okay, example 7. So, real quick, let me slide this over again and highlight it. So the first thing I always do, if I can, so I factor the denominator. Taylor, I think there might be some extra ones over there, okay? So let me factor. So first of all, I'll have an x over x plus 3 minus 18, and this factors into, what does this factor into? X plus 3, x minus 3. Okay, again. Yeah. There you go. Thanks, Hayden. So, one more time. We need a common denominator. They are not the same. Yeah, that's totally right. So, what does this one have that this one doesn't? X minus 3. Totally right. So, let's give it the x minus 3, and that way they'll have the same, right? So, to give the x minus 3, I'm going to multiply by x minus 3, x minus 3, right? And then I'm going to have, on the bottom, I'm going to have a x plus 3, x minus 3 for my denominator, right? Well, let's see what we can do with this. So let's fix the top, or let's simplify the numerator. We have an x squared minus a 3x, and I still have a minus 18, right? Now Arthur's going to say, hey, Mr. Davies, that will factor, okay? It will factor, okay? So if the numerator will factor now, it might help me out, okay? It might, and if it doesn't, it doesn't, but I think it might help me out. So if I factor x squared minus 3x minus 18, let's see, what would that factor into? Yeah, x minus 6, x plus 3, and of course the denominator is an x plus 3, x minus 3, right? So then, hey, something will happen, right? If you get to this point where things will cancel, it just reduces it. Yep. Totally right, Alondra. Cancel, cancel. Nice job. And what am I left with? Do not cancel the x's. Do not cancel the x's. Do not cancel this and make it 2. That is your answer, okay? Do not cancel the x's. Do not cancel this, okay? That's your answer. Okay? Okay, you guys ready to turn the page?
What about number 3?
Oh, we can do 3 real quick. Should we do 3?
No.
Okay, let's do 3 real quick. Okay, Garrett, what's our common denominator?
12. Or
24, right? What do you got to multiply the first one by to get 24? So that makes that a 10. What are you going to multiply this one by? It makes that a 9, right?
Yeah.
So how about 1924? So how's that, Garrett? You agree? I skipped it because I thought, you guys know how to do this one. Okay, you ready to turn the page?
Wait. What'd you get for the for example 7?
X minus 6 over x minus 3.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, turn the page. Here we go. All right, turn the page. Example 8. All right, example 8 is going to take some work, but I think we can do it, okay? I can. So first of all, I'm going to write a little note. I am so tempted to factor this. Don't factor the top, because you want to add or subtract the top. Don't factor the top until the end. don't factor the top because what you really want to do is add or subtract, and if you factor it, then you can't add or subtract, right? So let's make a little note, okay? Don't factor numerator or top. Numerator, that means top. Don't factor numerator until the end, okay? Don't do it, not until the end. So you factor it right at the bat, you won't be able to add or subtract things. Does that make sense? You want to add or subtract the top. If you factor the top, you won't be able to do that. So leave it alone. But what about the bottom? What about the denominator? What can you do? What can you do? Yeah, you can factor, and that factors into
X minus 2x.
Yep, totally right. Nice job, Lane. Okay, minus x plus 4 over x plus 2. Okay, again, what does this fraction have that this one doesn't? Yeah, so let's give it an x minus 2. X minus 2 over x minus 2, okay? We have a common denominator, right? So once you have your common denominator, we just write it down, okay? So my common denominator is an x minus 2, x plus 2, okay? All right, on the top or the numerator, we got a mess. We got a little bit of work to do, but I'm not afraid of a little bit of work. All right, 2x squared minus 16, I'm just going to bring it down, okay? Minus, all right, you ready? X times x is x squared. X times 2 is a negative 2x. 4 times x, a positive 4x. 4 times 2 is a negative 8, okay? Okay, it's a lot of work, but when x times x times negative 2, 4 times x, and 4 times negative 2, okay? All right, you got my line here. So then, I still have a mess. I've got to clean it up a little bit. So I've got to be careful of this negative, though, right? Remember this negative? So I'm going to bring this negative through. So let's see what I get. So on the top, I'll have a 2x squared minus 16. And then I'll bring through the negative. I'll have a negative x squared. I'll have a positive 2x. I'll have a negative 4x. And I'll have a positive 8. Still a mess, isn't it? All over x minus 2, x plus 2. Okay, now I could probably tidy up the top, right? Tidy up the numerator. So if I tidy up the numerator, let's see, I'd have a 2x squared minus an x squared is a 1x squared, right? See the 1x squared? 1x squared. Let's see, I've got a 2x minus a 4x is going to be a negative 2x, right? I'll have a 16 and an 8 makes a negative 8 all over my x minus 2, my x plus 2, okay? Lane, here's your question right here. You can factor that, right? You guys agree? Will it help me if I factor it? I think it will. I think it's going to help. If I factor x squared minus 2x minus 8, what does it factor into? Minus 4, positive 2, right? But I still have over an x minus 2, x plus 2. So then what happens? Yeah, totally right, Alondra. We cancel, and our answer is going to be an x minus 4 over an x minus 2. Don't cancel the x's. Don't cancel the 4's. Do not cancel these, okay? Do you know why? You have all of this divided by all of this, okay? You have to be able to subtract them before you can divide them. And you can't subtract them, right? Okay, the last problem, example 9. Okay, you guys ready for 9? Okay, you guys ready for 9? All right. It is, but we can do it. I have faith in us. No, yeah, 9's as long as 8. So first of all, I've got a fraction within a fraction, don't I? So the first thing I want to do is this. You see this division sign? See that big division? I've got a fraction divided by a fraction. Right, let me change it so it looks like a division sign. Let me rewrite it. So it's a 2 over x plus an x over 2. We'll go divided by x plus 1 over x, okay? It's just better to write it that way. It's easier to work with, right? So my divided by sign is right there, okay? because I've got this fraction divided by that fraction, so I just rewrote as divide. And of course, we don't really divide. We invert and multiply, right? So that's going to make this easier also. So we don't really divide, we invert and multiply, so let's go ahead and write this as a 2 over x plus an x over 2 times an x over an x plus 1, okay? For me, it would make things a lot easier if I could add these two. But I can't because they don't have a common denominator. Maybe I could give them a common denominator, okay? Yeah, that's exactly what I'm going to do, Grace. So, Grace, what should I multiply here? 2 over 2, because it needs a 2. So, multiply this one by 2 over 2. What do I want to multiply this one by? X over x. Let's see what we get. Let's rewrite this fraction, okay? So, it has a common denominator. What is the denominator? What's the common denominator? 2x. Let's put that down. And on top, I'd have a 4 plus an x squared, okay? Times x over x plus 1. Second period did say, Mr. Davies, are we going to have very many of these on the quiz? And the answer was 1, maybe, and it might be extra credit, right? Yeah. So now what? There's one thing you can do. Anybody see it? There's only one thing we can do. Anybody see it? Cross cancel something. I was hoping you weren't going to answer. Thank goodness Talis is here. Yay! We're so glad Talis is here. So what about this? X with the x. Can I do that? So what if you had 2x over x, what would you do with that? Once you get the x, that's all I did. Same thing, right? So our answer would be a 4 plus x squared over a 2 times an x plus 1. That's it. Why did I flip it? Great question. So we never divide. You ready? So what do you mean? This is math class. We never divide. We invert and multiply. Remember that from 6th grade fractions? We flipped it. Remember? You don't remember that from 6th grade math? Okay. Well, sorry. We'll catch you up.